Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Lockdown 23 and 1. It is 5 o'clock in the morning over here on the East Coast, and what better way to start your day than some wild and crazy prison stories. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, I got some crazy stories coming your way, so I hope you enjoy. I enjoyed reading them, so I can only imagine y'all probably enjoy hearing me break them down, And some of these situations I actually came across before. You'd be surprised how a lot of crazy stories in prison actually turn out to be very similar to the ones that you might have went through. A lot of stuff in prisons, I guess you could say repetitious. Is that the right word? Ex-cons and prison guards shared their craziest, most unbelievable stories from prison. Story number 1. The things people will do once they get into prison is the title. Prison was never as bad as jail. People in prison usually man up and get with it after a month because we have to. But in jail, there's a bunch of candy-ass kids who usually spend time all day on the phone with their friends and girlfriends, crying most of the time. The most pathetic sight was seeing what some of these kids would do to get food. I saw a kid get served to 60 days for a DUI, and after a week, he was given hand jigs in the shower for soups. Hey, it's 5 in the morning. I don't want to wake up everybody, but damn, man. I can't sit here and prove the validity of these stories, but damn, I read pretty much all of them already, and some of them I already forgot, but at the same time, they all sounded legit. This is type of shit that I could definitely see happening. I've seen people turn to tricking for food with just, a 2-year sentence. So, there's a lot of people, drug addicts that go in there. They'll do anything for food, man, or drugs. So I believe it. Next, ladies and gentlemen, and the title is, this guy got sentenced to jail for the dumbest crime. In September, I went to jail for a day because I didn't have enough money to pay my arraignment. I was put in a holding cell with 5 to 6 other dudes who were waiting to either see the judge or get transferred to Wayne County's jail. While I was hanging out in there, I spoke to a guy who looked very similar to Michael Clark Duncan from the Green Mile. Rest in peace, dog. Rest in peace. Pretty sure that guy passed away, too. He told me he was in jail due to contempt of court. When I asked him to elaborate... Can you imagine someone in the cell saying, "Sir, could you please elaborate on that for me?" I'm sure he didn't ask him that. He probably said, "Hey, what do you mean contempt of court, When I asked him to elaborate, he told me that he took the bus to his sentencing as he didn't have a car. In Dearborn's courthouse, you're not allowed to have a cell phone. You must keep it in your car. He didn't want to leave it outside because he took the bus, and I believe this because rapper Mike had the same issue. He didn't have nowhere to put his phones and stuff. And he called me if I could turn around and come get his cell phones and hold it for him. But I was already, 40 minutes and all the way down to Virginia Beach. So he had to go and hide him in a bush, And what if he got arrested? Then his cell phone's been sitting there in the bush until I went over there and got him, So I can believe this. But anyways, he said he didn't want to leave his cell phones outside. So he actually put the cell phone in his butt. So in the courtroom, waiting for other people to get sentenced or whatever, when his phone decided to go off, and they eventually found out that it was in his butt, and he got contempt of court, ladies and gentlemen. That's crazy. I believe it, though. I believe it. Now, this one is crazy, man. This one's really crazy, and I truly believe it as well. All right? Title of this one is A Loophole I Never Expected Prisoners to Use. I did 5 years in the feds, and while I was waiting for a Con Air flight, I was at MDC Brooklyn for a few months during the summer. I was on 6 South, and in the rec room, you could look down and see the rec room of the female floor, 1 floor below, through a very thick wire screen. Hopefully someone in the comment section can co-sign to this, These guys hooked up a car out of dental floss from the 6th to the 5th. And did the following. Okay, a car is like an envelope, to transport messages back and forth on the line. Some people call other things, some people call car. It's a car. But anyways, it's just an envelope or whatever tied to a string, and you can pass it back and forth from cell to cell. They were doing it from the 6th to the 5th floor to the women's block. The guys hooked up the car out of dental floss from the 6th to the 5th floor and did the following. The men would excrete themselves onto a tissue, shove the tissue down the line to the women's block, and the women will try to get pregnant because in the federal system, at least this is what the story says, if you get pregnant while in custody, you're a free woman. Sounds plausible, doesn't it? I mean, how are you going to get pregnant unless it was a CO? You know, they ain't thinking about a car with dental floss wire on it and tissues being shoved back and forth. Jesus. I wonder if they ever were. Ladies out there, maybe you can co-sign to this. Have you ever seen anything similar to this going on in lockup? I can only imagine. I do know a few guys that used to, they had these little sandwich baggies that they would give diabetics. I forget what they put in them. I think it was cheese and crackers or something. I don't know. But anyways, I know some guys that are actually doing that in those plastic baggies, sending it home for their wife or old lady to try to get pregnant. Oh, this one's nuts. Listen to this one. And this was the last story that I read out of the list, so everything else after this is pretty much new terrain. But the title of this one is Apparently Undercover Cops Sometimes Go as ? These two guys were doing 8 years apiece. One was from Detroit and the other one was from South Carolina. Detroit was a big Bob Marley pothead and South Carolina was the super redneck. We ended up buddying up and they told me what they were in for. They had both been stationed together in the Army and both had been discharged for marijuana. That's sad. You know, I wonder how many amazing troops have been discharged because they just couldn't stop smoking the reefer. So they were both stuck in North Carolina and decided to sneak back onto base. They stole some morphine and body armor. South Carolina got up with the KKK and tried to sell them the morphine and body armor. Turns out the KKK was actually the feds and they got busted. I thought this shit was pretty crazy, but I guess it really isn't crazy by internet standards. I mean, I think it's pretty damn wild. I seen a movie actually not too long ago. It was with who was it? The Harry Potter guy, you know? I can't remember his name, the main actor. But he was playing, he was the feds, and he became like a skinhead and tried to infiltrate the whole whatever organization was. I don't know if it was KKK, but some kind of white supremacist organization. So, I mean, the movies can be very true in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? Believe it or not. A lot of people might not think so. It's a little over-exaggerated, yes, but in movies, they do give out a lot of hidden gems as to what actually happens in the real life. They get their stories and their information from somewhere. It's usually from real articles. You know, that's how a lot of these people get their stories. Or make their stories, you know. Next on the list is pretty dark, and this is pretty dark. It's very short, but it's pretty damn dark. My brother had a guy in the bunk above him take his own life during the night and woke up to blood dripping on his face when he was serving 6 months for possession of cocaine. That's 6 months he will never forget, ladies and gentlemen. Shit. Next on the list is a clever man, okay? Not me. That's how it starts off. It was probably him. If it starts off with not me, not me, but my cousin, he told me about some crazy stuff he saw in prison. The story that sticks out in my mind was one about an HIV positive prisoner put his blood on arrows that were shot at the guards. The bow and arrows were made out of newspaper that were petrified with toilet paper. I believe it. The next one is, I imagine this would be pretty scarring. Former CO, I have lots of stories. I once held an inmate in my arms at a halfway house as he overdosed on heroin. We believe his wife brought it to him. She arrived shortly after the ambulance. I'll never forget the look on their child's faces. Haunts me to this day. Wives, if you're out there in the street and your old man is trying to get you to bring him some stuff, man, don't be an enabler. You know what I mean? Why do you want to give... You can't love your man if you're over there shoveling freaking dope into him. You know what I mean? Can you imagine something like that really happening, though? You know, your old lady brings it to you thinking she's just thinking you're just going to enjoy yourself in prison, but you just end up losing your life and she was the cause of it, because if she didn't bring it to him, he'd still be alive probably, or else would have went and got it from someone else. But still, she probably has to live with that guilt and resentment. And ladies and gentlemen, please let me know what you think about these stories, all right? If you want me to start bringing a few more of these short stories your way that I find on the web. I don't have too many more for it, or there's a lot of them, but I'm just going to read a few more. Craziest thing I seen was during lunch one day. Some guy intentionally leaning over a third-story railing and falling, breaking his neck, and passing away. That's crazy. Eat lunch in prison and then snap. Snappity snap snap. Well, that sounds unsettling is the title, ladies and gentlemen. Was in prison watching the news. The story on was about a kid who stabbed 2 kids. He was sitting right next to me. We both shared a brief glance, then went back to our Fruit Loops. I told a story about that. Damn, who was it? I think it was a guy. Oh, he was sleeping in the cell. Well, there was a few incidences. I remember. I think one was a guy that hurt his grandma, and then the other guy was someone that got caught sleeping in a couch. He broke into a house, took a shower, ate some food, and went to sleep on their couch. I never understood that. There's a lot of people that actually do this. They get caught for going in people's houses, taking a shower, eating a meal, and taking a little nap. And this guy did. And I'll never forget it, man. This guy was sleeping nonstop in the cell block since he came in. No one even really, knew what he looked like because he was sleeping the whole time. But a couple people recognized his face from the news. The news came on, and they told everyone he got caught sleeping on a couch in a house that wasn't his, So all he was doing was sleeping in jail. So we're like, shit, hey, this dude's a sleeping machine, man, But shit like this happens all the time, man. People break into people's houses, eat, snack, might play your PlayStation. I mean, shit. Just let them ride out for a little bit. Let them have a good time, man. You see something like that, just walk back out your house and just let them enjoy their little hour or so in the crib. At least that's what I do. The next one is titled, This Guy Had a Pretty Shitty Life. The most effed up thing I ever seen was a man who spent 27 years in prison and was about to be released after DNA proved his innocence via Actual Innocence Project. That is a actual thing, and a lot of prisoners have been being released lately because of it. The DNA proved his innocence via the Actual Innocence Project was killed by some young kid that was 18 because an organization wanted him to be made an example of. Now a kid that was going to serve 6 months is serving life, and the man who was about to be released has just lost his life behind some gang shit. That's crazy. The next one is titled, This Is Horrifying. My cousin is a CO at a state prison. He told me some guys act crazy just to get out of general population, but some are actually batshit insane. Oh God, I love that phrase. They had one prisoner who had pica. Pica. He would eat so many dangerous things that he would need surgery weekly. He had his stomach cut open so often that the surgeons installed a temporary zipper on his abdomen for easier access. The man managed to get out of his restraints, undid the zipper, and his CO on duty went to check on him, and he was playing with his small intestines. Oh my God. Also, he told me some of the sickest criminals don't look like you'd expect. The gangbanger in the corner might be in there for writing bad checks, but the old guy with the cane and limp probably killed 6 people. Unbelievable. And I have a lot of people on here to tell some crazy stories. They seen all this, that, and the third. I'll tell you, some of the people with the craziest stories on earth is EMS workers. Salute to y'all, man. Y'all see some crazy shit. Anyways, I enjoyed this show. If you enjoyed this episode and want to hear some more short stories later on down the road, like I said, I can't authenticate any of them, but I mean, by reading a lot of it, I can pretty much distinguish between bullshit and, hey, that definitely, possibly, maybe could have happened. But yeah, if you enjoyed, please hit the like button and show me that you did, and leave it in the comments section, say you want some more. Don't forget to check out all the links in the description of the video. Go add me up on my other channel, my gaming channel. We drop content over there daily, live streams daily. We're getting it in, it's growing. I will become a gamer, full-fledged. Channel will blow up. That is my dream. I guarantee it will happen.